Howdy, howdy. Mic check. You guys let me know if I've got audio going. Hopefully I do. Then again, maybe not. How about that? Okay, got Discord running too. Well, give me a second. I need to go take a Riley here. All right, I'm back. See what's going on with Mr. Cavendish here. Hang on a second. I'll move a little white circle down there. Just kind of trying to keep track of this, so we can see about where the center point is. Actually would be the resting point with those large balls in that position. That's what I call the west position, because the one on the right hand side of the enclosure, the right hand side of the enclosure is north. So whatever position that ball is in is the condition for the experiment. And in this case, it's on the west end of the enclosure. So we call that west. All right, good enough. Go back and check the stream here. Hey, 12 people watching. Hello, Peter Harrington. We need critical thinking. Heck, all you guys. And Sig, I can't figure out how to pronounce your name, so I'll just call you Sig. And I have no idea who 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is. That's an awful lot of numbers. So since the last time, I did a live stream last week, I think. I've been doing a few things. I have replaced the steel hanger wire, or hanger rods, with all brass. Um, this is just, I'm doing this just to be sure that we've removed any possible magnetic influence. As you know, I've lined the entire inside of the enclosure, the lower section of it. It's totally lined with copper. There's an 8-foot ground rod, uh, 20 feet from where I'm sitting, driven into the dirt out there, that has everything grounded to it. And the last remaining little question I had in my mind was whether or not the steel hanger rods could have an influence on it. Cavendish had the same concerns, and he changed his out to brass, and so I've done the same thing. A bit of a pain in the neck because I wanted to use brass clevises down there to connect to make the connection with the large balls, but couldn't find brass clevises, so I had to make them. That took a little effort. But we got it done. And I've been doing a few experiments with it, and actually getting some really, really good data. This thing is giving us numbers all around that 6.67 accepted value, 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11th. So I've been pretty happy with it. But I just finished cleaning everything up. I think I got everything hooked back up correctly. So I thought we might run one more quick one today. I've run 2 tests already today, but thought we might try running one more tonight and see what we get. Right now, I think what I'll do is watch the red dot and see if it goes back up back up in the center of the little yellow circle. I can't really highlight that for you, but it should move upscale a little bit. And that'll give us a pretty close spot that we can say, okay, this is the resting position for the balls in the west experimental condition. And hey, anybody that wants to join in over on Discord, please do. Feel free. Checking to see, yeah, it should be up and running. So we ought to be in good shape with that. Let me see if I can find a link. Post that down here in the chat too. There we go. Yeah, so anybody that wants to join in, please feel free. Yeah, let's see what the red dot's doing. Six says I'm going to make Daniel Pratt really mad. Boy, I hope not. I worry about Daniel. Boy, he has his issues, that's for sure. Well, it looks like we're pretty well centered up on about a 244, maybe 243 and a half, something like that. I've got this being recorded anyway, so I can go back later and view it. I'm gonna move these things out of the way. But the little green caret, if you can see it right, just under the red dot there, would be the center position, or not center, the resting position in this configuration. So, I'm thinking it's time to let gravity do what gravity does. Pardon me while I go move my balls. You okay? Actually, let the weight that's on the left side, the south side of the enclosure, bump the enclosure a little bit. So now I got the little red dot dancing up and down again. That's okay. It'll stop that in about 20 or 30 minutes. So this all makes perfect sense. You can see which direction the torsion balance should twist. It should twist, if we were looking down on it, with the weights in this position, it should twist counterclockwise, looking down on top of it. So that would move the laser dot downscale, and that's what's happening. Now the period of oscillation is 888.8 seconds for this particular torsion balance. So what's that, 7.5 minutes or something like that? Let's see, I got a calculator, 888.8. Yeah, it's 14.81 minutes total. So half of that is about 7.5, a little less than 7.5 minutes. Hey, 26 people watching. See PhD Tony out there. Hello, Tony. Feral Cat. C4, how you doing, buddy? Bert Rickles. Charlie, how you doing, man? Adri, what's up? Any of you guys that want to jump on the Discord BMS channel. I'm hanging out in there right now, so I should hear you if you drop in. So at the moment we've gone down to around 206 millimeters on the scale. I'm going to move one of these markers so we can keep track of this thing. And sort of get an idea of when it bottoms out. And then we'll start marking the top and the bottom of the oscillation until it settles down to a fairly tight range where we can say, yeah, with some confidence that we know what the resting point is going to be. Same technique Cavendish used. But I've been getting some really good numbers from this thing, so I've been pretty happy with that. I think it has been a little erratic in the past, and it could have been some issues with static. I'm not sure that the changing the steel out to brass made any difference at all, but at least there is nothing magnetic. We know for a fact there's nothing magnetic anywhere near those masses down there now. Can't be. The balls are pure lead with just a little brass eyelet or a little brass ring cast into them, and the iron rods and clevises are totally brass. Ooh, I do have one piece of stainless steel, and it's the clevis pin itself is stainless steel, but the thing only weighs a few ounces. It doesn't even weigh that. A few grams, maybe. Tiny little pin. So I don't know. I'll look around and see if I can find some brass or clevis pins. If not, I can get a piece of just brass round bar and make some pins. See how we're doing. The stream's doing okay. 31 viewers. Hey, thanks for tuning in, folks. Hello, Clive Wells. How you doing, buddy? So ideally we'll get a deflection of about 28 millimeters on this particular torsion balance. And that works out to a value of G of about 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11th. And I've been getting that very close to that number over and over again. So we'll see how it does this time. I don't know. I'm finding that it's probably best that I don't do what I'm doing right now, which is sit out here with this thing. It seems to behave better if I just move things into position, start the recorder, go in the house and leave it alone. Come back in about 3 or 4 hours, and then you get some pretty good results. But just my presence out here will have an effect on it. How much? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. Hey, 34 people watching. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm going to do a video here in the coming days and summarize some of these early actual test results. So you guys can see where we are. But I'm pretty happy with the data that I've been able to get so far. And if I can get this thing running the way I want it to, I'm just going to continue going from one position to the opposite position over and over again. And I think I can do that on about a 6-hour cycle and be safely, hey, Colin, what's going on, man? Hey, real. So that means I can move the masses 4 times a day. And only if I can do that for about a 3-day stretch, then that'll give me a dozen data points, 3 or 4 days. You know, get somewhere between 10 and 20 measurements in that with that condition. And then I want to go back and reinstall the other torsion balance, the one that's got the 780 gram weights on it. I've got some more .007 inch wire guitar string that should be here any day. And I'm going to change out that torsion element to this same 007 material. And that's going to extend the oscillation period to 20 plus minutes, I think. But it'll also give us a much greater sensitivity. Instead of having 28 millimeters of deflection, we'll end up with maybe 75 millimeters of deflection. So that I think would be pretty helpful in terms of increasing accuracy of the measurements. Yeah, Tony says, so your mass, the air currents you induce, your thermal output, the floor vibrations, all of those things can have an impact. Yeah, they can. It doesn't seem to be too sensitive at all to temperature, at least not as long as it stays within, well, 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. I have not been able to really pinpoint any negative effect to it. I think it's more just the mass of me being out here and moving around. Now I'm trying to remain stationary and situated directly off the end of the torsion balance, which would be the area that's least affected by some external mass. But just my presence here, I mean, I am exerting a force on the little ball on this end of the balance and the one on the other end of it too. Guess I better pay attention here. Let's see. Put a green circle around that end of the red dot. Let's see which way it's moving. Doesn't look like it is moving. Looks like it's pretty stationary. I might have caught it just about right. Let me write down a time. We'll call it 1933 local time. And so we'll be looking at about 1940, 1947 and a half, and so forth. So I'm just figuring out where the ends of the oscillation might be when they're coming up. Yeah, it is quite amazing, isn't it, Tony, that those guys 220 or 30 or 40 years ago could come up with something as sensitive as this thing. Just amazing. The brass really looks good, though. Shout out to Judy Bassett. She gave a Cavendish donation, and I immediately spent every penny of it and bought these brass rods. So I don't know, I don't know much else I could really do to this to make it any better. Um, I suppose one could always go and put magnetic shielding around everything too, but what's the purpose? I mean, there's nothing there that's magnetic. Adrian's got a great idea. Gold, yeah, depleted uranium. I don't need any depleted uranium, but if anybody has, say, 100 pounds of gold laying around that you're not using at the moment, just send it to me. And I will be quite happy to include it in the experiment. And you may or may not get it back. Well, I think changing out the torsion balance after we get enough data off of this particular arrangement, I think changing out the torsion balance and using two different masses is pretty good proof that this thing does what Mr. Newton said it would do. Clive wants to know if I've thought about using an egg. Yeah, no, I did. I didn't think about it very long though. Although an egg might not be too bad a substitute for the little balls. So maybe we could prove that lead attracts egg. How would that be? I'm sure I could super glue a piece of wire on the end of an egg on an egg. Get it to hang on there. Real says he had a ppm meter. Hello, Mr. Andrew. How are you doing, sir? DHD Tony, why are you naked? Damn it. You gotta put your clothes on here. Let's see. There, that should fix that. You too, Adrian. Damn it. You guys gotta not be running around here naked like that. Okay. Now we got everybody fixed. Milk for the big masses? I think so. Lead attitude? I think you're right. I think eggs for the small masses and buttermilk for the large masses. Why not? Yeah, it moved back to the mic on the bayou. It did. It moved back to the white circle. Actually, I don't think I caught the white circle quite right. I'm going to move that. These first few oscillations are pretty radical. Let's see what we would have. If I had to go on the information that I've got right now, which wouldn't be a good idea, that would be about 186 and 230, 231 and a half. The average would be about 208. If I tried to use that. And so 244, 243, that's 208. We'd have a deflection of about 35 millimeters at the moment if I were to use that data. That's what I've noticed. You really don't want to try averaging these oscillations early in the process after you move the big masses. It needs to settle down. it does wander around a little bit. I'm with you, Clive. I am totally unsure how this proves relative density. I'm sure it must, but hello, Kentucky Slowhand, who says throw some salt at it, and the entire device will float. Yeah, I believe it'll float. I think it would. I'm pretty sure sapele wood is not as dense as water. All right, back in a sec. Hello, Luke File Walker. How you doing? Bert, you don't have any clothes on. Got to fix you. And Kentucky Slowhand, you need some clothing too. We'll fix you up. Hello, Professor Phil Bell. How you doing, sir? Yeah, I listened to Phil, I listened to part of Brandon's show today. That was pretty funny. Man, those guys can screw up more stuff. Purple rhymes with orange. How are you this evening? Jim Smith is asking what the linear distance is. What is the linear distance the small balls move when the large balls are moved from one side to the other? What's the linear distance? The linear distance is about 2.8 millimeters. That's all. It only moves. They only move about 2.8 millimeters. It's a very small amount of movement. In real sickness, yeah, that's exactly right. The distance you see divided by 10.25. So it's not a lot of, you're not going to see a lot of movement of it. If you do, something's gone wrong. You know, when Cavendish did this, he got deflections of around 7 millimeters with the arrangement that he had. And that's not hard to read on the scale. 2.8 millimeters. Let's see. Well, 28 divided by 10.25. 2.73 millimeters. That's actually only about 2 of those 20th of an inch scale divisions. So I think that would be pretty challenging to try to read that manually and get the accuracy. But I think when I go back to the other balance, the larger masses, the same size masses that he used, and a .007 inch wire, I think I could get pretty close to that 7 division displacement like Cavendish got. And that should be the most accurate. Hello, John Watson. How are you this evening? Let's see. Yeah, again, anybody wants to join on Discord, feel free. There's a link. I think it'll work. Hello, Dart. Good to see you. Hello, Dread. How you doing? Got 36 people watching. 37. That's great. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Observer says density attracting density. Yeah, exactly. Larry wants to know what the oscillation period is. It is it's a string of eights, 888.8 seconds. No, not at all, Dread. Drop in if you wish. Hello, Don Anders. Beach 8, hey, how you doing? Purple rhymes with orange says, is this how flirts find each other? Yeah, yeah, probably so. Who joined?
Fascinated by.
Hey, Dread, how are you?
I'm fascinated by this experiment. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Yeah, it's a fun it's a fun experiment, that's for sure.
Seems a lot quieter than last week.
Got a little lively. That's okay. I don't believe we'll allow that jackass back on.
I'm lost as to what to do with him.
Choking him might not be a bad thought. I think he got upset that he got booted, but hey.
Oh, he always does.
I can only listen to so much of that.
Well, I was amazed by your patience. If he talked to me like that on channel or show I was running, he'd been gone immediately.
Well, you know, I don't like having to do that, to eject somebody. I get no pleasure from doing that, a thing like that. But if a guy's just going to become totally abusive, there's not much else you can do, really.
Well, yeah, you've reached a point where you have to get rid of them just so you can have a sensible conversation with the reasonable people.
Yeah, everybody else was in here having a good discussion. And he was just here to disrupt things, I think. Oh well. We won't let that happen again.
Oh, just as well not to.
Let's see, get back over to the live stream. PhD Tony was asking, was it Jason? Yeah, I think that's right. Paid NASA Shell, hello.
Blue, I didn't know you had your own Discord thing.
Yeah.
I gotta turn you off of, I hear myself here in 20 seconds.
It does that. Gotta mute something.
Oh my God.
Better off muting the YouTube.
Yes, I'm gonna do here.
I should also say, Blue, your woodwork to build that frame is amazing.
It's like, it's like furniture making. Same thing. Uh, and
It looks a lot more stable today.
those are techniques
But
and joints that have been developed down through the ages. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You can't find any details of exactly how Cavendish, whoever built the box for Cavendish, did it, but I can almost guarantee you it would have been pretty much what I did. There's just not that many different ways you can do it. Not and have.
looking a lot more stable.
Yeah,
It's looking a lot more stable than last time I saw it. You find the right wire?
yeah, I think so. I found some .007 guitar string, and that seems to be working pretty well. This is the balance that's got the small lead balls on it, the little 330 gram ones. So I want to get some runs in with this.
You know this is all fake, right? This is all relative density sideways, right?
Yeah, I keep wondering how that happens too. I don't know exactly how relative density comes into play here, but I'm sure they've got some way of explaining it.
I was over in Brandon's server and they had a what they have? They had a balloon underwater in a vacuum chamber, and as they evacuated the air, the balloon is under the water expanded. You should hear these guys trying to explain that one.
Gee, I wonder why that would happen.
Yeah, maybe because all the weight on top of the water, and yeah, who knows?
Gee, that's an idea.
I also have no idea how the boundary comet works. None at all. I get to see how doing a parabolic arc in the air changes your relative density, but it does.
I love the way Arwen had that so confused.
Arwen confused? Jeez.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, big surprise there.
Yeah, Arwen's thought that a helium balloon in the Vomit Comet would suddenly go whistling at, how does Arwen put it, explosive speed toward the back of the airplane.
Why would he do that?
I have no idea.
Okay. I was trying to see they were immediately jumped on the whole that when you're falling through air, therefore blah blah blah. And I'm going like, okay. They don't understand the principle of was it relevant? No, relative, not relativity. You know, when you're falling in zero gravity, you're basically at the same.
You're talking about free fall.
That's why I didn't become a science teacher. I could never teach these kids today. Like,
Depends on the level. Some things are easier to teach than others.
well, it's definitely not easy to teach physics to flat earthers.
I'd say it's damn near impossible.
It's one of the things that's come up in a few of the discussions where I've had to go, I've reached the edge of what I can explain. I am not a teacher, but I've gone through every way I know to explain this idea. And I'm now stumped because I don't know why you're not understanding the point I'm making.
Well, the reason I don't understand it is I used to think these guys were all stupid, but no, I think they're just, speaking of density, they're just dense. They just refuse because they know it will affect their little flat Earth religion.
Yeah, possibly. I know there's a few that have tried to rewrite the entire laws of physics because they don't like the ones we work with.
Well, that's fine. Go ahead. Will you invite me to Sweden with you? Because I always wanted to meet the king. He gives you the Nobel Prize. And don't say you turn it down because it's like a freaking $1,000,000 too.
And some of them had been eligible for the Randy Prize as well.
Oh, the Ranty Prize. Chemo, the other day I asked Chemo to give me his best flat earth proof, and his first one was that when you go up, you see further. And the second one was that chips disappear from the bottom to the top. I said, congratulations, you've just won 2 Ranties.
Oh no, not Ranty. The one that I can't remember his exact name. The one that was disproving all the paranormal stuff.
Oh, him. Okay,
Yeah.
Randy.
Yes.
Yeah, the amazing Randy. He passed away recently. No, I'm thinking of the Ranty, which is when a flat earther tries to prove the flat earth and ends up proving the globe.
Happens quite a lot.
Yeah. Like I said, Chemo did it twice in about 5 minutes, which was kind of funny.
I had one of them brought up that a pilot over Texas shouldn't be able to see Los Angeles because 3,600 feet of it's hidden by the curve. Only problem is bits of Los Angeles 5,000 feet above sea level.
Los Angeles? No. Denver.
Yep. Bits of Los Angeles are
Los
5,000
Angeles is
feet.
5,000 feet above sea level?
Bits of it are because it's built up onto the hill.
Well, that hill is 30-some miles away from Los Angeles. Wow. I thought Los Angeles was famous because the people go to the ocean there. I didn't realize it was 5,000 feet above sea level.
Well, quite a lot of it is at sea level, but bits of it slope up to that elevation.
I mean, part of Los Angeles County.
They appear to be talking about the city.
Really? I gotta look at this one.
Again, it's the Wikipedia citation, so I can't be certain exactly where the highest elevation is, but it references the US Geological Survey for it.
Well, Lukens is a mountain peak of the San Gabriel Mountains in Los Angeles County. It is 5,000 feet, 5,075 feet, 1,547 meters. With the highest point in the city limits. Okay, so it is. Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, I had to go and look for it because I thought Los Angeles was quite low lying.
It is. It's sea level. I mean, it's the city. Because of this, it's the city with the largest elevation in the country. Interesting. Because you think of Los Angeles, you think of the ocean, you don't think of the mountains.
Yeah, but you don't.
So
you don't have to go inland very far to get into the mountains.
Yeah.
The San Gabriels are right there. I think that's it, San Gabriel.
Yes, it is.
You head over toward like Rancho Cucamonga, and that's just a suburb of LA anyway. And hell, you can throw a rock at the damn mountain from there. And those are huge mountains.
But then, of course, the flat earth I was talking to basically went, "No, that's not right. That's not right." Despite me going, "Well, here's where it's said it. Here's the thing it references, which is an official publication. Feel free to look at it and disprove it. But that's what it says." And then they got abused and called me some names. But hey, that happens.
Aetherban was mocking people today because he had no argument. And when you get into mocking, then you pretty much have
We've largely had that from the Jason for the past month and a half. So it's the thing.
Yeah, I heard
His
Ethernet.
highlight today was he said that the Greeks um, should have used telescopes to prove their thing, and that they were too dumb to know about perspective.
Greeks should have known telescopes. Interesting.
Yes.
Hmm.
Only about, what, 1600 years on? Oh,
About 2,000 years, because we were talking about ones that were 500 years BC.
okay.
Yeah, that's
1,000 years.
1500 years out of whack.
I'm trying to get all the flat earthers to do not the Cabbages experiment, the Eric Hodgson's experiment on March 20th.
Oh, yeah, that's another one of Jason's pet hates. He refuses the entire concept of the experiment because apparently we can't work out the effect refraction would have on the experiment.
Right. I actually had one of them tell me that the trigonometry was wrong, that the Earth is flat and trigonometry is wrong.
For the original Eratosthenes experiment, the error was 0.13 minutes of arc. That's less than the error in the shadow from Eratosthenes verticals. So, yeah.
Yeah, you got a little fuzzy bit there at the end of the shadow on the stick, and it's hard to say. Where is it? What should I measure to?
Yeah, the penumbra at the end of the stick is a bigger error. So's actually the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
The geoid not being spherical is a bigger error than you get from refraction.
Right. Right. And that little fuzzy bit at the end of the little fuzzy bit at the end of the stick's the same whether the stick's a foot long or 3 feet long or 6 feet long. So
yeah, if you have a point at the end, it's a little bit less. I understand.
yeah, the longer the stick, the better you are, off you are.
Yeah, because you're measuring errors are canceling.
When
that bit again about the stick versus the Earth. I'd like to hear that again.
Well, when Bob, the science guy, and I did it a couple of years ago, I used a 6 foot, actually just a painter's pole, and I got within, and I made video of the measurement. It's in the video that I published, and I got within, I think, about 30 miles of the accepted diameter.
Yeah.
Or accepted
Basically,
circumference.
it's that the error from the shadow of the stick being imprecise is bigger than the error you get from refraction.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, because there's very little refraction. I'll say no refraction. I mean, the sun is.
No. For Cyrene, it was 0.13 minutes of arc, as I say. So, what's that? 1/500th of a degree? You can't measure that with normal tools. Certainly not with a stick and angle measure. Yeah. Certainly not the geometric approach.
The refraction should be minimal. I mean, the sun is 30 arc minutes big, and you're doing it at solar noon, so you're coming directly through the atmosphere. I mean, straight down.
Yeah.
So it should be at a minimum.
Yeah.
We've explained it. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, your angle to the sun is your latitude, or 90 degrees minus your latitude.
That's why you wait till one of the reasons why you wait till solar noon.
Yeah.
The other reason is, of course, that the lines of longitude line up. I think isn't that the definition of longitude, or if it's not, it's an effective one.
I don't.
It's basically. It's involved.
I thought that's how they determine places that are on the same latitude as when the noon maybe it's just a side effect that anyway, noon at a line of longitude, solar noon at a line of longitude will be the same no matter where you are in that line of longitude.
I'm not sure that. I think it's one of those with extra definitions. It's the same. So things like on these particular days.
No, I think it's true every day, actually. I mean, because that's how they set up the time zones.
I've not considered whether it varies.
Take a look at it. I mean, if you're on this line of longitude at solar noon, it'll be the solar noon on the entire line of longitude, no matter what the season, no matter what the day.
I'll have to look into it at some point.
Yeah, look into it. I think I'm correct. I really do.
It's basically I'd never considered it.
Okay. Well, you have to make sure that you're at solar noon, which depends on where you are in the time zone, will be before or after, clock noon. And if it's if daylight savings time, then you of course you gotta.
Yeah, there's a lot to be taken into account when trying to find your solar noon.
Well, there's calculators out there to do it for you. Type in your coordinates, and they'll give you your solar noon. Amazing how we can calculate that.
If I'm working with shadows for anything, I've also got to take into account that the land here is distinctly not flat.
Where are you?
Halfway up a hill in Yorkshire.
Oh yeah, but there are places there. You don't need much flat. You need a couple square meter of flat land, which you can get with a rake.
Yeah. Oh, I'd have to actually level a space to do it. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. You should. Yeah. So Yorkshire, that's out in James Herriot country, right?
Oh yes. You have to go a little bit north to get out into the sort of area he was working in. But I am on the edge of the national park. Give or take a couple of miles.
I'm told you can tell generally where people were raised by their English accent, but as Americans, we don't hear accents very well.
Oh, my accent's a little strange because my mum and my dad were from very different parts of the country, so I ended up with a sort of hybridized accent.
Okay. There was a time when Blue was trying to talk to Sleeping Warrior and said bollocks, which was really funny when he said it because it just sounded so wrong.
Yeah, just do that to aggravate him.
I understand, but it sounded so wrong to hear you say bollocks in a Southern American voice. It just was wrong. I'm sorry. I just laughed at it.
Yeah.
No, then you say blimey, Blimey.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, I've been trying to practice on my Australian. I gave up on the English accent. I might stand a chance at Australian. I'm not sure.
Well,
I got the good day, mate. I got the good day, mate part down. Okay.
They sort of have like a little bit of a southern drawl sometimes, so maybe you can do it.
Yeah. Considering the city I'm in, we've got about 20 or so different accents just within the city. Mostly not distinguishable to outsiders, I have to admit, but we do have these different accents. You're going to lose if you try and get an English accent. It's just not going to match anything.
I can't tell the difference between Australians and Kiwis and South Africans. But
well, South African has slightly harsher vowels.
Yeah, I'm told. I am told though that if you can't tell the difference between New Zealand and Australia, to guess Australian, because Australians hate to be called Kiwis, and Kiwis don't mind to be called Australians. So.
They're almost the seventh state of Australia anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's like calling it Canadian American, They're basically Americans, but just don't tell them that.
Yeah, I think the Kiwis think they're East Australia anyhow. But my dad was stationed in England for 3.5 years in World War II.
Oh, where?
And
Where?
on a bomber base in a little town, outside a little town named Royston, The name of the base is Bassingbourn.
Bassingbourn.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
That sounds familiar.
still there today. It's pretty famous. That was the 91st Bomb Group,
All right,
and
Bassingbourn.
it had some pretty famous
No,
had some pretty famous
the former
airplanes.
basis.
The Memphis Belle was one of the airplanes.
Like, it's the other voice, not the local one to me. That's fine.
But anyway, he he was around. He lived there for all that time, and they had a lot of the RAF guys connected with them too. But Dad could do a absolute perfect British accent. I never did figure out how he managed it, but he knew exactly how to do it. It's beyond me, that's for sure.
Probably lots of practice and lots of prize money in the form of beer.
I would imagine the beer had
because-
something to do with it, yeah.
Lads on the RAF base would have paid out enormously in beer to get him to try and do the accent.
I miss English beer. Although we're getting better in the United States, our beer basically sucks.
It's not all lukewarm horse piss over there anymore then.
No, we're working on it. You gotta go to the microbreweries. Some places are better than others, like Colorado. I don't know. And
Well, I'm more a stout and real ale drinker than anything else.
I can never take stout.
I
want
like
bread,
stout.
I'll eat it. I can never take stout. If I want bread, I'll eat it and put butter on it. You know.
I
I do
like
like
stout.
English bitters though, and that's something that English bitters is something I cannot find over here.
You can't drink bread, honestly.
I do. My wife gives me grief for liking McVitie's digestive biscuits, which is definitely an acquired taste for Americans.
Yes. Yes, they would be.
I mean, she calls them cardboard. I say it's more like sawdust, but you know.
Rusks. They're like rusks.
But yeah, I can't find English bitters at all over here, even at the really nice. Just not heard of.
What's a big one?
So, Blue, how long does it take before the balls actually touch? And I guess that's when the experiment's over. Or the round.
They should never touch.
Oh, they're never going to
Oh,
touch.
yeah.
They're not going to touch.
Not gonna touch? I thought they were in the same plane. Are they not?
Yeah. Yeah, but the little ones are inside the enclosure and the big ones are on the outside. So
Okay.
they're not going to touch.
I thought they would like touch.
No, that's one of the things you got to be careful about, that you don't make the balance so sensitive that the little balls inside can come in contact with the enclosure itself, because that screws up everything.
Essentially, because you're measuring the forces on the twist of the wire,
Right.
you need it to be able to twist all the way. If it touches, you're not getting all the force from the twist due to gravity.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Thanks.
true. And you know, just watching this thing, you see the overshoot that happens. You can see right now from where we are. Let's see, it's oscillating between 190, 193 and 220 or 214. But when it started, you know, you've got another 20 millimeters on either side of that. So the overshoot itself is liable to carry the little small balls into to the point where they bang into the side of the cabinet, and when that happens, all hell breaks loose. Then you're going to be sitting around for many hours before it ever settles down. It's not a good thing.
How heavy are the external weights there, by the way?
Hmm? What?
Still think you should paint them blue just for general purposes.
Big blue balls.
Yeah, hillbilly blue balls.
Yeah, damn QE is crap.
QE has a huge influence on all these guys. They all will start talking about independent variables now, and they don't understand what they're talking about.
It's because he sounds like he's authoritative on the subject.
His quotes, his references are so freaking cherry picked. It isn't even funny.
There's virtually none of them that you can't blow a hole in with his own citation. All you have to do usually is just read the entire citation that he gives you.
Yeah, well, one of his citations was actually the filmmaker, the guy that made Jurassic Park, testifying before Congress at testifying before Congress at on the Energy Committee, the guy who hates climate change. And he's basically saying, there is no subtle science. He's basically an anti-climate change guy. He was a climate denier, he's dead now. But he was basically testifying, because he had a PhD and, did movies, they invited him, the idiot from Oklahoma invited him. And so he quoted from that.
That's a massive problem that I've run into as well. People having qualifications in completely unrelated fields and then being taken as an authority. When, quite frankly, it's not in their field, so they've got about as much to say about it as I have. Because I'm
no authority. I'm no expert knowledge, but it doesn't. These guys would just have a little bit of scientific training beyond high school, or if they'd not fallen asleep during high school science class, they would. Like this experiment that this observation, whatever you want to call it, the Cavendish thing that Lou's doing here, is obviously fake.
Well, I've done this experiment twice. Once we weren't meant to get anything resembling conclusive answers because it was just a here is how the experiment was originally done. See what you need to do to set it up and how difficult it is to create. The other one, at university, we put it together and we basically left it for about a week to get some results, and they were reasonable, considering that it was done by a bunch of mostly drunk 19-year-olds.
You can buy this experiment. They do this experiment in undergraduate physics. I was a chemist, so I didn't do it. But this is one of the classic things you do in freshman physics lab.
Well, as an undergrad chemist, I did do it, but that's because I was taking a module of astronomy.
Okay, I didn't
each semester.
I was a chemist also, but I don't recall doing this experiment.
No, we did it purely because I'd got the astronomy credit on it, and they were doing the history of how you get to being able to calculate G, where this experiment is one of the key points. And then they went, and now that we've moved on from using this method, here are the methods that we actually use now. But yeah, the other one was back when I was at secondary school, so I'd have been 14 or so. And the experiment was disrupted by things like people walking by in the next classroom
Yeah.
and shaking the floor.
Yeah.
Because the floor wasn't suspended
Well,
properly so that it would have no effect.
that will happen. Let me say hello to a few out there in the chat. Hello, Barry. Good to see you. Anacito, thanks for showing up. And QED, what's going on, buddy?
QED, not QE, right?
QED, yeah. One of the good guys. Let's see if I don't know. I'm probably missing people, and if I am, I'm sorry. I'm spending a lot of time over there on the in OBS watching my little circles so I can keep track of where the red dot is. So we're going to try to see if we can find a center point here in the next 20 or 30 minutes, and then reorient the big balls and see if we can do it again. I got a feeling that red dot will move to the right when we move those balls. What do you think?
I've got a feeling it'll move somewhere.
It's remarkable how accurate you can measure with this thing if you've got the patience, and but it does require some patience.
Didn't Kevin just put in like a shed or a barn or something, just leave it alone?
Yeah, he had it in a shed,
Look at it with a
out away
telescope.
from everything. What he was trying to do.
Two telescopes built into the walls. Brilliant idea.
What he was trying to do was isolate the wooden enclosure that the small balls are that the torsion balance itself is in. He was trying to isolate that from the elements. And keep in mind that's 223 years ago, and of course, obviously, they didn't have any heating or air conditioning or anything like that. So he was at the whim of the weather. And we all know what's going to happen. You know, if I rapidly change the temperature in this garage, the air inside the enclosure is going to suffer from convective current flow, airflow in there, as you try to either raise or lower the temperature of it. So that was his real.
Get some weird radiation effect as well.
Yeah, that was his. That's really what he was all about. If you put it in a shed, you know, at least in a pretty massive one at that, it looks like if his drawing is anywhere near to scale, it was a very substantial structure. So that'll tend to, if you keep the doors closed, you know, sealed up pretty well, that'll tend to try to just track the average temperature. It'll certainly level out the big peaks. And
that's the thing. He could afford to have his building gone over by a joiner of some skill.
Yep.
To weatherproof it.
Yep.
He could afford to have the enclosure made by a skilled cabinet maker who could make it pretty much airtight.
He was extremely rich for his time.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I mean, he was like really, really wealthy.
One of the richest scientists of the time, although not the richest overall person.
Oh no.
It's what happens when you're the grandson of two dukes. You get a lot of money.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was not hurting for money. That's for sure. He was quite well to do. John Rapp wanted to know if I thought Cavendish had flat earthers sending him letters. No, I think they just generally took those guys out and hung them.
I'm fairly sure he had a secretary for intercepting such letters. Because he didn't do well with dealing with the public.
No, he didn't. He was a very shy, reclusive sort of character. The one story I read about him that was somewhat fascinating. He um, bumped into one of his servants, chambermaid or whatever, on his way downstairs one day, and the incident so upset him that he had a complete private back set of stairs installed in his house, so that he didn't run the risk of accidentally touching one of the ladies. That's pretty amazing.
It should fit in with other things about his known personality.
Oh yeah, see Adric dropped in. What's happening, Adric? Speak to us. Hey, 38 people watching. Thanks for showing up, everybody. I'll be right back.
I just find it amazing that Cavendish was able to work to such a degree of precision with what he had available.
Yeah, and then, well, I mean, it was cutting edge science of the day.
Yeah, I suppose. It just always amazes me when you look back at some of the things that people did and going, they got really good numbers somehow. And how much more they must have known about this than I do at the moment to be able to set up that experiment to start with.
Oh, there's no doubt he was intelligent. He was really bright.
I'm back.
Good. Yeah, I was just saying how I'm amazed that Cavendish could get the degree of accuracy that he did with what was available to him at the time.
Oh yeah.
And how much smarter than me he must have been to be able to construct the experiment from scratch.
Oh, the ancient Greeks were smarter than most flat earthers. I mean, they at least knew that trigonometry was a real thing.
Oh, yeah. And how to subdivide circles. Yeah.
I can't believe one of them actually told me that the Earth is flat and trigonometry is wrong.
Well, there's always the great question of if you've got your triangle and it's got sides 1, 1, and 1,
Yeah,
what
so
are your angles?
positive. Yeah,
Yeah.
get a triangle calculator to figure that out.
There are a couple of answers I will accept to that. One of them is just the straight 60, 60, 60. The other is, are we drawing this on a ball? Or are we
Yeah, the
drawing
other
this on a
question.
flat piece of paper?
Actually had somebody ask that. Was the first person, are you talking Euclidean or non-Euclidean geometry?
You know, both of those show you can at least think far enough to get into the subject.
I think Rhetoric actually found the charts because they didn't. Clerks didn't want it on the. Somebody bet $10,000 you could do this. To make the 90-degree, the triangle with three 90-degree angles, and so they did it in like software. He said, no, that's software. You have to do it on a chart, on a real paper chart.
MC2's done it on paper.
Yeah, it was at MC2.
He's got it nailed to his wall.
I saw that, and but it's hard to find paper charts anymore because they just don't make them.
I think Toon printed his.
Did he? He actually
But
has a small, like inch-long gap in one. But yeah, he actually did it on the chart, and I was amazed. Of course, the flip didn't pay off the bet, but that's another issue.
of course not. That's another one of Jason's things. He claims that all the navigation maps are based on the flat Earth, despite having been shown MC2's video, despite having been told by I think it's 5 pilots and 2 merchant marine captains that that's not the map they use on day-to-day navigation. Yeah.
The map on the Mercator projection was used for navigation, right?
They tend to use small sections of a globe surface for the maps now.
That's clear. Because the Mercator projection is a cylindrical projection, right?
Yeah, even with the Mercator, you get some nasty distortions if you're going long distances on it.
Yeah, great circles are what we navigate by. Flat map crap.
In fact, there's somebody out there that actually said that you could prove the Earth is flat by getting in your plane and taking off after I think it's Sydney to Johannesburg or Sydney. Anyway, they showed it on a Mercator projection. Of course, they fly the Great Circle route, so you could beat them by a couple hours by just going straight, right?
Yeah, Randy made that mistake.
If I remember correctly, you crash because you don't have enough range on your plane if you try and follow it straight on a Mercator.
Well, you could probably find a plane that had enough gas to do it. I mean, these newer planes have got tremendous range.
Yeah, you better have tremendous dollars if you want to fly one of those.
Oh yeah, not cheap. But, I mean, if you could prove the Earth is wrong, though. If you could prove that the Earth is flat, there would be a lot of. Yeah, you don't know how much those planes. Like he was a pilot guy. Wolfie.
Yep.
Those planes are not cheap to fly.
Well, until proven otherwise, I have to assume that most of the cliffs I've spoken to actually believe in jet fuel.
Oh, there's a few that don't.
I know there's a few that don't, but until someone actively says it doesn't exist, I have to work on the assumption that they do.
Well, you have to carry some chemtrails too. There's the chemtrail tank.
Oh, that's another one that I've had trouble with Flurfs. Where they're showing test flights for some of the big jetliners. So instead of having the seats and everything in place inside, what they've got is they've got water tanks strapped in place of the passenger compartment.
Well, there's that one, and then there's the ferry flights.
Yeah, where
for the ferry, like the 729, 720, but like a DC-9, they'll ferry that from the west coast to Hawaii, and they got like big extra fuel tanks in that puppy.
Yeah, but no, this was very much water tanks strapped down to simulate the mass of the passengers and the distribution of passengers plus luggage. It's clearly labelled on the images as, test flight this date, airworthiness test or whatever. And people are claiming that this is the normal operation when it's spewing out chemtrails. And it says there on the image, test flight, prototype plane, whatever. And you're going, can you read? Because on the image you've given us, it says what it is.
Bert Rickles was asking in the chat what the scales are, the markings there. Only because Cavendish did it like this. The marks on that lower scale are 1/20th of an inch. So 5 is 5/20ths or 1/4 of an inch. 10's half an inch and so forth. And then the upper scale is a vernier scale. So you can read 1/10 of a 20th or 1/200th of an inch if you read that vernier correctly. While you guys were chatting, I figure the center point of this thing is around about 204 millimeters. So, let's say for fun, let's move the masses to the opposite position and see what happens.
Ooh.
Right back in a bit.
if I had the mic turned off or what. May have. But I did move the balls.
Yep. Now to see what it's going to do.
Well, as you can see, looking at that thing, it's easy to envision that the ball you can see there in the lower part of the screen is going to be pulling that torsion balance inside the enclosure to the left. That'll be a clockwise rotation, correct? If you were looking down on it, rotate clockwise. The laser beam is coming in from the left side, and the target is left of the video that you're seeing. So the red dot would move upscale if mass attracts mass. And lo and behold, that's exactly what it's doing. And I can do this all day and all night. And every time I move those large masses, that torsion balance tracks it. So those who don't believe gravity is a thing need to have a look at this. Try to think of what else could be causing it. I'll be damned if I can come up with anything.
Well, we have had the proposal that it's electrostatic, but that can be tested for by changing the shielding.
Yeah. Yep.
Of the internal compartment there.
Yep. Took care of that.
It can be tested by grounding the balls to each other.
Yep.
And probably several other things I can't think of at the moment.
I think all of those issues have been addressed.
Oh, heavenly energies. 15 degree per minute drift. Thanks, Bob.
So let's start tracking the dot up here on the upper end and see what happens.
It's still moving right.
Yeah, it's easier when you put something near it or close to it. I don't know how far up it's going to go. I don't know how much overshoot there is. That's really hard to figure out. In fact, I didn't even try. Never even tried to predict the overshoot. It just does what it does, so that's okay.
The important first point is it coming to rest at a different point outside the two sets of, beyond the markers that you originally had.
Yeah, I think we reached the top at around 250, 255 or 256 millimeters, something like that. So now it's going to go back downscale. Yeah, the really cool thing would be to get the accepted value for big G, and I still think we can get pretty close to it. Um, but if I get within 20%, I'll be pretty happy actually. Given that I'm doing this in a garage. Not the most ideal setup in the world.
Well, no, there's a lot that you can't isolate for in that setup,
That's
but
right.
you've taken the steps that you can.
Yeah, I've done what I could do. I mean, ideally, you would have this in a perfectly symmetrical area. You know, you would have it with no odd distribution of mass. Make it totally gravitationally symmetric.
Yeah, swapping your weights around as well.
Yeah.
But I reckon you'll get good results.
Oh, it has shown pretty respectable numbers. Not unhappy with it at all. I've done it a few times when the calculated value of G comes out uh, within well within 1%. And sometimes it's high and sometimes it's low. That's why you do lots of tests.
Yep.
I think that's something a lot of people don't really understand about this sort of thing. A single test is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It tells you nothing. Nobody involved in science or engineering would ever dream of trusting a single
You do it
test
once,
result.
and if you get the result, no, you do it once, and if it gets the results you want, you keep it. If it doesn't, you throw it out and do something else, right?
It seems to be the way they think. Not the way it works, though.
I've seen the method for a different set of experiments where you do it 100 times, throw out the highest 5 and the lowest 5,
Yeah.
and then you start working on your hopefully same 90 results that you've got left.
Yeah, it's perfectly legitimate to throw out the outliers if you've got a
you
large
spend a lot
enough.
of time trying to.
If you've got a
You
large
spend a lot of
enough.
time proving their outliers.
Yeah. If you've got a large enough data set, you can get away with doing that. Um, you can't take 3 tests and throw out the high and the low. That doesn't work.
Like, you can obviously tell you're not a flat earther because you're actually doing something.
And
I
all
still
the
think you should
equipment's
do.
being used appropriately, not like using a parts per million
Yeah, using a
measure
part
to
per million.
calculate density.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Unique.
He had some other derp
Word I'm
around him.
looking for.
He's still back on the same derp about relative density,
Yeah.
despite the fact that relative density has no units, no vector.
It's an egg. Oh dear.
That's probably the only thing that he was right about in that whole experiment was this is an egg. After that, it went downhill quickly.
Yeah, you got that part
He
right.
was right. He was right that adding salt to the water would make the solution more dense as well. I have to give him that.
Yeah, but the way he poured it in, he just kind of dumped it.
See, I
And then
think
he says that he caused it, so he's the cause. I mean, it's like saying you flip an electric switch and the light goes on because you flipped the switch.
Yes. I also, on behalf of Britain, I have to apologise for the existence of Sleeping Warrior.
How about for Nathan? You gonna apologize for him too?
I refuse to accept that Nathan exists.
We have our share of flares around here, and to tell you the truth, a lot of them live in the area around Big Blue. It seems to be a preponderance of people in that particular region of the country.
yeah, you run into it. That's for sure.
I don't mean to be insulting of your ethnic heritage, Big Blue. You understand?
Oh, I do.
I suspect a large portion of it is the very Bible-oriented schools.
Correct. So you have to remember that this whole fundamentalist thing, this whole taking the Bible, and is all because of Darwin and how they had to deny Darwin. And once you start denying science, then you start denying basic physics too.
Yeah. Oh. The one that always worries me with the Darwin denying side is the misunderstanding of the phrase race as Darwin was using it in the subtitle of his book.
The what, please?
On the origin of species and the survival of favoured races or something like that,
right.
Where he's talking about races of cabbage or potatoes to compare the common cabbage to the wild cabbage to the Brussels sprout to the cauliflower. Not in terms of races of people.
Yeah, there was a lot of social Darwinism. We're still paying the price for that one.
Well, that's an entirely different concept as well. But let's not go there because that's a bad topic. And I get very het up about that one. But yeah, there's a lot of I don't understand it, so it must be false.
Right. Arguments from incredulity is the main. That and a true misunderstanding about this conservation of momentum. I actually had someone tell me yesterday that if you were on a moving sidewalk or elevator, as you call them in sometimes, I guess. Anyway, if you jump up from a moving sidewalk, that you fall backwards of the mark.
I've seen people do it, but that's because of how they've jumped.
Exactly. Because they put a bias into it.
Yeah.
Someone was trying to tell me, and I'm still not 100% sure on this, that if you were able to jump like a couple miles high, that you would fall backwards because you're jumping so high that you don't have enough velocity relative to the Earth. I still don't buy it 100%, but it sounds reasonable.
Well, at that point, you start having to take into account what wind currents have done to you as well.
Well, no wind. It's a Coriolis type effect. When you get up into you're jumping high enough that you're actually don't have enough velocity. You don't have enough momentum, enough velocity.
The momentum you get from jumping up, possibly. I'd have to revise my physics.
Well, yeah, I'd have to actually put a pen to pencil and pencil to paper, and I haven't done it yet. He might have a point.
Remember the flat Earth view of you get an inch off the floor, you're instantly thrown 1,000 miles an hour that way.
When I take an airplane, I jump up a foot and I slam against the back of the airplane every damn time. I fly through the cabin at 500 miles per hour.
Yeah,
slam against that back.
Very hazardous to jump up in an airplane.
Yeah, you slam against that back, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my buddy Sloppy did his latest video was right back.
Talking about him
going through that same bullshit again and again and again.
Well, people were back on his relative density disorder.
Well, he was off it for a while because he was into the look what the UK government is doing to me type thing.
Oh, what? Trying to keep him alive by not letting him lick rats?
Exactly. There's a big overlap between the flat earthers and the anti-vaxxers.
Again, you can't trust what science and scientists tell you. They must be lying.
Right.
We had on our block of flats we've got here. We had.
Be careful. Oh, excuse me, Barry. Be careful here.
Yeah.
Be careful, Barry. You're treading on YouTube. We don't want to get Blue's channel banned here.
That might be one that's best elsewhere privately. But in block flats I'm in, we had somebody decided that they'd tear down all the newly fitted fibre optic cabling that we'd had done for internet access because it 5G virus delivery technology.
Nice.
Now, admittedly, that was about a year ago, and they haven't done it again since. But it was still that moment of what on earth?
Blue.
Yeah.
Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
You might want to look under your YouTube comments here. We're getting off into an area that you might be YouTube sensitive.
Yeah, let's stick to relevant topics, if you guys don't mind. I'm much more comfortable speaking about Cavendish than I am talking about race and things like that. Let's just stay away from it. YouTube's kind of sensitive about a lot of things these days. If you get my channel in trouble, I will hunt you down.
So how long's the arm on the torsion balance there, by the way?
Huh?
How long's the arm on the torsion balance?
Oh, 48
Out of interest.
inches. It's 48 inches center to center. Which is uh,
Yeah, I know 4 foot. I can work in both.
it's 1219.2 millimeters.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to get a visualization for the scale of the thing. That's all. Because I know it's scaled down the Cavendish one, but I never truly got the original Cavendish experiments actual dimensions fixed in my head.
Yeah, Cavendish actually used a 6 foot torsion balance. But when I started looking at this and thinking about doing this thing, uh, I realized pretty quickly that I just don't have enough ceiling height. If I had tried to make the torsion balance that long, it would have needed an even longer torsion element. And I'm pretty much out of room in here, so I just said, okay, that's it. I'm going to scale this thing back to 2/3 of what Cavendish used.
Well, since it's largely showing the principle and that you can get a measurement
Yeah.
with a smaller device, it's good for that.
Well, 2/3 scale is pretty respectable. Hell, we built.
It's a good size.
Yeah, we built 2/3 scale airplanes, 2/3 scale uh, World War II type aircraft, and fly them all the time. I always wanted to do that. I just never got around to it. I'm not sure that I'm crazy enough to try to fly something I built, though.
Well, you'd never get me that high up. No, I have trouble on high pile carpets. I'm not I'm not built for doing things at altitude.
I always enjoyed flying. Oh, YouTube's claiming it doesn't have enough video. Don't know what that's all about.
I've just noticed, Blue.
Hmm?
I've just noticed that your date stamp on it says the second of the second 21/22.
Uh-oh. What have I done? Okay. Take a quick break. What the hell is all of this about? Let's try this again. 225. 21. How's that? That should fix it.
That's fairly accurate. Yep.
Yeah, messed up something. Those are just little little markers that I put in over on OBS. It's easier to keep track of this stuff like this than what poor Cavendish had to do. Because
He'd been doing it by hand, wouldn't he?
Yeah. He'd be sitting here writing down the position of that scale every 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And obviously without the
Well, sat
benefit
in a tree, don't forget.
yeah, then having to reduce all the data by hand and everything. My God, it's an enormous task.
And back it starts going the other way.
Well, hopefully we stream is still running correctly.
Yeah, it's still running. It's been buffering a little bit, but YouTube's been playing up all day. It wouldn't let me open some of my subscribed channels earlier.
Yeah, at one point I would try to go to somebody's channel and it would just act